Hello, this is Randy Orwin, Assistant Director for Learning Technologies at the Information School at the University of Washington. And welcome to this tutorial on the best practices for pre-assigning Zoom breakout rooms. In this session, we're actually going to talk about the best practices and a couple of gotchas that you may run into when using the pre-assigned breakout rooms in Zoom. Okay, so we're going to start by scheduling a new meeting and talk a little bit about what we need to do when we schedule a new meeting. I'm actually in the Zoom web portal, which actually is the best place to really manage everything related to Zoom. So we click on the schedule a new meeting button, and this pops up, and we're just going to call this Breakout Rooms Test. So that's the name of our room. And I'm going to just say this is going to be a one-time meeting for this period of time. And I'm going to come down and say, I'm going to turn off enable join before host because I already have a meeting room turned on. I want to make sure that people have to log into Zoom when I do that. So if I tick this box, by default it's set up to require the UW-Net ID. If it's only going to be with students in your course, then you want to leave it so that the UW-Net ID is required, because pre-assigned breakout rooms will not work unless your students or your participants are logged into Zoom. Now, you might have a scenario where you have a guest lecturer or you're going to bring in a panel. So you have a couple of options to deal with this. So one of them is, once you get to where you're actually turning on the breakout rooms in your meeting, you can manually add those folks to a room, or you can actually change your authentication setting to just sign into Zoom. And so your students will still sign in using their UW-Net ID, but then your panel presenters could actually just log in using whatever email address they use to create the Zoom room. So it just depends on how you want to set that up. I'm going to leave it to require Net ID for this point. Then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say breakout room pre-assign. And in my previous video, we talked about just creating breakout rooms. We're just going to start with importing from CSV. So we'll pop that open. I'm going to come out here and I'm going to grab this one right here. So let's drag this one in. And you'll see that I've created at the top 12 rooms with 58 participants. And I can see the title of the room here, Breakout Room Teaching Faculty 1. But over here, I can't actually see the name of the room. So these are very long room names. And I'm going to show you some things to think about when we look at that. The other thing that you'll notice is the room names, as I look at them, they're not actually in any sequential order. And I've not yet found a way to make that happen. So I'm going to say save. And then I'm going to say save again. So I've created my room. And what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to start this meeting, and you'll see one of the problems that you have with using those really long room names in your spreadsheet. All right, so here's my room. Shows I'm muted, so just disregard that. And what I want to do is I want to take a look at those breakout rooms. So I'm going to come down under my More button, and I'm going to pop out my breakout rooms. Now, you'll notice that right now, I don't see the actual names of the breakout rooms. I just see breakout room. And it's really hard for me to get an idea of what those are. Now, it's kind of weird. If I move my mouse over one of these and then move it out of the way, then it will actually show me the full name. So if I kind of slowly move all the way up the top, then I can see those names. But if I don't know that, and I'm trying to find somebody to assign to one of those rooms, makes it really difficult to do that. So what we want to do is change to a different and shorter name of rooms for that. So we'll go back and we'll change these to a little bit different size of name. So I'm going to come back in here. I'm on that same room. I'm going to edit this meeting. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to edit my breakout room settings. I'm going to just say import from CSV again. And I'll pop in my thing here and I'm just going to grab this one and drag it over. And then you can see that the names of the rooms are just researchers and teaching faculty. So when I save that one, I save again, I start my meeting, and I'm going to go back into that breakout room. And there we go. Now we can actually see those names are really important. I don't have to do anything special. They just show up. So that's what we're looking for. But you'll also notice my spreadsheet actually had them broken out by researchers 1 through 7 and teaching faculty 1 through 5. And for some reason, I cannot figure out why it doesn't actually put them in the order in which they were in the spreadsheet. And I've tried all sorts of things. Nothing has made any difference. So I'll probably open a ticket with Zoom to try and figure out why that's the case. Now, here's one of the most important things to think about, and that is when you first come into the breakout rooms panel here. So we've clicked on breakout rooms to get to this point. Oftentimes you don't get all of the people into the rooms. For some reason, they log in late. You've already opened this panel. And so Zoom doesn't recognize their net IDs or their Zoom ID if you're allowing just Zoom IDs to come in here. So the key to this one is click on this recreate button and then say recover to pre-assigned rooms. I'm going to show you another scenario of this, but it says yes, I want to recover. So there we go. As I showed in my previous video, if I say recreate all rooms and I just make something up totally random and I say recreate the rooms, then it'll only recreate that number of rooms, and then I can say recover the pre-assigned rooms, say yep. It brings back my pre-assigned rooms, and that actually refreshes the list to make sure everybody's there. All right, so let's take a look at that from a different room. Okay, so here I am. I'm back in a room, and I'm going to allow some people in who have pre-populated. So I've got somebody here that says they're going to come in. So I've added that person into my room. So now I've got the two participants both in the room. And I'm going to go ahead and pop open my breakout room list here. And I see that this laptop person got assigned. But if I have somebody else pop in and they're late, so let's get them logged in here. So I'm going to allow this person in. So they're in the room, but I'm not actually seeing them in my list of rooms. So if I close this, let's see if it'll refresh. So breakout rooms. And we can see that that person is still not been assigned to a room. I can click on assign and I can see that there's somebody who hasn't been assigned, but they should have been assigned because I actually created them into the manually created rooms. But if I come down here and say recreate, recover to pre-assigned rooms, and then say yes, you can now see that that second person has now been pre-assigned. So this is a hugely important step. Before you open the rooms, click on recreate, recover to pre-assigned rooms, yes. That's going to preload everything up to the moment that you actually get ready to open the rooms. And then when you open the rooms, everybody's in the appropriately assigned room. Okay? So that's some of the main components of your best practices. I'm going to cover a couple of other best practices. So let's go back to my Zoom portal and we'll talk about some things there. Okay, now we're back in my Zoom portal. And this time I'm actually going to try and edit a recurring meeting. So you can see this is a recurring room here. So I can go open this up here. And I'm going to come down to the bottom, and we can see that I don't have anybody assigned to this room. So I'm going to say edit this meeting, and it pops up with this message. You're only editing your recurring meeting. Do you want to edit only this one, or do you want to do all of them? Well, I only want to put the people in this one, so I'm going to say only this meeting. So I'm in the meeting. I'm going to make sure that I've got my authentication set up, and then I'm going to go into my breakout room pre-assign. I'm going to say import from a CSV, and we'll bring in my CSV file here. So we're just going to do this one right here. And there we go. I've got all these rooms. They're now ready to go. So I say save, and I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say save. Page is refreshed, and when I come down here, notice that there is nothing that says that I have any saved people. So if I were to actually go into this meeting, and I come to the breakout rooms, look at that. I have no breakout rooms configured. So none of those 12 rooms that I created appeared. So what's up with that? So let's go back to my web portal. And I'm going to say edit this meeting again. And this time I'm going to say, instead of just only this meeting, I'm going to say all meetings. So we pop that open, and now says every week, all the occurrences. And now I'm going to come down here and I'm going to make sure people are authenticated. And I'm going to click my breakout rooms again, import from CSV. Same process. I see that I've got 12 rooms. I say save. I see I have 12 rooms right here. Now if I say save, and then I scroll down, I now see that I have 12 breakout rooms. And if I were to log into the meeting, then I would see those breakout rooms would be pre-populated. So this poses an interesting scenario. If you're in Canvas and you create a recurring meeting, say once a week, and then you decide you want to put a different set of students in using a different CSV file, you have to say add it to all rooms, and then you can't really pre-populate that. So the idea here is if you're going to actually be using a different set of students using the CSV file and the pre-assigned breakout rooms, then you need to create a separate meeting room for each one of the instances where you want to have a different set of pre-assigned users. Now, hopefully that makes sense. Let me say that again. If you want to use different CSV files and load different groups of students on different days during the quarter, you need to make sure you create a separate Zoom meeting for each one of those occurrences and not use a recurring meeting unless you're willing to have class one day, go ahead and update that same Zoom for the next week, and then update that same Zoom again. If you want to preload all of those things at the beginning, then you just need to create a separate meeting room for each one of those events where you're going to change the pre-assigned groups. All right, I think that covers everything, and I hope this made a difference and hope it helps.